Stand in our way, and our golden age has just begun.
This is Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
Now it's time for everyone to understand what America First truly means. Welcome to the Second American Revolution.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we're back live, Human Events Daily. We got President Trump, the live shot there, the portico to the West Wing of the White House, where he's about to be finishing his meeting with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. So we'll take that live when they all start to walk out. Put it down in the little box right there. Folks, somewhere along the way, we traded real flavor for seed oils and that processed junk. It's time to take back our kitchens, and our newest partner here at Human Events Daily is here to help. They're called Steak and Shake, where they're introducing now Steak and Shake's 100% pure beef tallow. No chemicals, no fillers, just premium beef fat rendered the old-fashioned way, the way that my Polish grandparents cooked. Right now, they have two options to choose from, both at steakandshake.com. That's Steak and Shake with the letter N. There's their grass-fed beef tallow that's only $9 a jar, and there's also their American Wagyu beef tallow, just $12 a jar, with a rich, buttery taste. Or bundle them both together for $19.99 this Christmas and revolutionize your cooking. It makes a great gift. You can fry the crispiest fries, sear the perfect steak, roast vegetables bursting with real flavor. This is how food should taste. So bring tradition and taste back to your table with Steak and Shake beef tallow. Order now at steakandshake.com. That's steakandshake.com with the letter N. All right, very excited to have on the show. First time I believe that we've had him on Human Events Daily, although I've appeared on his show a number of times. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Whitlock from Fearless over at The Blaze joins us now. What's up, Jason?
Jack, thank you for having me. I thought I'd been on Human Events.
Were you on? Maybe I'm getting my wires
show.
crossed then,
yeah.
and you were here, and I thought I was on there.
That might be it.
But Jason, it's either way, we got to do it more. That's the I think that's the upshot of it. But so we were doing this conversation. I was on your show earlier, and I kind of did a little monologue when we started off, and I said, I think there's some people, and I saw this actually. I was coming off of your tweet. You had a tweet about taking the vaccine and saying that Jesus Christ is not enough. You must take the censorship vax. We now have boosters that will keep you a safe social distance from Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Alex Jones, Dave Smith, Darryl Cooper, and many others to be named later. Keep it locked on my feed for updates on new boosters or masking policies. And it was really funny. And if people don't know, Jason's obviously being sarcastic there. It does feel like there's this push for censorship now going on, call it the online right, the MAGA right, whatever you want to call it, the conservative movement. What are your thoughts on that? Why did you post that tweet?
Well, because I wanted to point out that what we're seeing as it relates to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and several others, and I'll even throw Nick Fuentes in there, is very similar to what we saw during 2020 as it relates to COVID. That the left had this insanity that everybody had to take this vaccine, this medical trial vaccine, and that if you didn't do it, you were the worst person on the planet. And we all ridiculed and laughed at them and said that that's crazy. And now we're turning around and doing that to Tucker Carlson and to Candace Owens and to other people that were respected and fighters and soldiers in this culture war. And now, because of this lack of comfort with the conversation about what is America first, how much support should we provide foreign countries, particularly Israel, how many wars are we going to get into in the Middle East, now we want everybody to social distance from Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And I'm just not for that. I don't believe in that. I believe we serve Jesus Christ. He's given us his word in written form that guides us and tells us how to operate in this world. We don't have to social distance. We don't have to cancel people. We can beat them with a higher form or the highest form of truth, and that is by proclaiming Christ as King. That is by pushing this culture back to a more biblical worldview. That's the solution, not canceling people. Beat them with the ideas. Our ideas are superior because they're based in biblical truth.
No, I love this idea because the idea that you're saying don't call for censorship. And so much lately, I try to think back, what would Charlie do? What would Charlie say in a given situation? And Charlie wasn't a censorship guy. And people want to say, oh, what about what he just said this about Israel? And he said, no. But guys, at the end of the day, I go back to how did Charlie deal with this? I know I said this on your show, but I'm going to say it again for the benefit of the audience here, is that when the Israel question first came up and it was bubbling up and it was getting bigger, and then it, really when the war with Gaza spilled out and it became such a huge issue, it was on the news every night, it's all over social media, TikTok, etc. Charlie said, you know what? I don't want to hide this conversation. I don't want to squelch this conversation. In fact, I want to hash it out. And at one point, not to get too into it, but I played a very small role in setting up some of the debate at the Student Action Summit, the last one that Charlie would attend, the last Turning Point event he would attend down at Tampa, between Dave Smith and Josh Hammer, which was mediated by Charlie himself on the question of Israel. I thought they had a great debate. I thought they went really well. I thought both sides made really good points. I agree. I think largely that I think we need to start winding down our presence in the Middle East and certainly our support for these various wars. I think that's what America First is all about when it comes down to it. But that's what Charlie did. He didn't stand for censorship. And Jason, I love how you would do this because you always talk about the difference between tribalism versus being a Christian. And I think that's something you were kind of getting at. What does that mean? Unpack that for us.
Well, it's the same thing Tucker's been talking about, quite honestly. It's just like, hey, all Christians, we should not be tribal. We should not be leaning into skin color. We should not be leaning into many things that are dividing us, and we should be coming together under our belief that we serve Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, and that our identity comes from our religious faith, our country of origin, and our language. And if we lean into those things, there's everything for us to come together. If we're going to lean into identity politics and, hey, I'm originally from this country, although I live here, my skin color is this, and so I must be loyal to everybody that shares my skin color. I want loyalty based on shared values. My values are biblical. My values are Christian. I want loyalty and coalition based on that. If we lean into tribalism, and this is what I've said, I think over Twitter, and I think I've said it on my show countless times to the Nick Fuentes, that's promoting a tribalism that I'm like, why would you do that? Black people in America have become very tribal. It's not going well. It's not working out at all. Why would you repeat and think that, okay, if white people become tribal like black people, it's going to go better for us as white people? No, it won't. We have to come together over shared values, and we have to remove this color stipulation. And again, take our identity in our religious faith, in our country of origin, and our language. That should bring us together. And so it's very hard to get black people on board with that, but we should all be looking at, and I'm an American black man, for those of you that are not watching, not watching and can only hear my voice, I'm an American black man. I'm in disagreement with this 90% of black America that is very tribal and is not, their kids, our kids, black people's kids, are failing. They're not achieving academically. We're not progressing economically. We don't have any unity. There is no unity based on skin color. Unity is based on shared values, and they're best based on shared biblical values. And so this tribalism that quite frankly, Jewish people lean into tribalism. And so for people that are critical of black people for their victimhood, Jewish people for their victimhood and tribalism, why would we want to adopt the tactics that lead to a lot of division, in my view, and don't push America forward in the proper way. I just things that I'm critical of, I don't try to repeat. I don't try to mimic and adopt. And I just don't, tribalism does not work. Shared values does. And, quite frankly, shared values based on Jesus Christ, Old and New Testament, that's what works. And we all need to be leaning into that rather than tribalism.
And you know what? For me, I think a lot of this started when they started preaching multiculturalism, and they started saying we need to embrace all cultures, and every culture is and I get where that starts. That starts from kind of like probably a well-meaning place, or it's well-meaning, right? We're multiculturalism. We should respect all cultures, but then you turn around and suddenly you start saying, wait a minute, but we have to have one culture. And that culture is the American culture. So that culture is red, white, and blue. That culture, and of course, like you can look, obviously you could see people of different skin color, people with different backgrounds. Like, duh, of course we have eyes. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a shared culture. And I just remember, growing up when I did, that's what it was. We were all American. It's like, I always joke, I'm from the Philadelphia area, so you go to Eagles game, right? That's tribal, right? That's very tribal, and especially Eagles fan. And when you get and the Giants fans come in and it gets a little rough. It definitely gets a little rough. But there's that moment at the game when you play the Star Spangled Banner and everybody takes off your hat, you put your hand over your heart, you listen to the national anthem, and for that moment, you put that all aside and you say, we're all American citizens. That's what's about having American culture first. Right back, Jack Posobiec, Jason Whitlock, Human Events Daily.